Good afternoon and welcome back to the Payments Innovation Channel. Again, my name is Kathleen as your host for this channel. So before I introduce to you our next speaker who will discuss B2B cross-border payments, let me just give you a quick reminder, be involved in the conversation. If you're watching on a computer screen, just look over on the right side and you will see the live discussion area where you can chat with other attendees and drop your questions to our speaker. If you're watching on a mobile device, then the live discussion area is just underneath. All right, so now let me welcome our next speaker is the head of finance of Luxclusive. He is Josel de los Cielos. Over to you, Josel.
Hi, folks. Thanks for logging in today. Good afternoon to hear about B2B cross-border payments. Before we proceed, I would like to introduce myself and the organization I'm affiliated with. So I'm Josel de los Cielos. I'm currently the head of finance of Luxclusive and also the president of the Institute of Management Accountants Philippines chapter. If you have questions or clarifications after this presentation, you may reach me via the contact information presented here on the screen. So Luxclusive, so this is our website. It says here, pre-owned luxury for business, empowering new players entry into the pre-owned luxury market. So what is Luxclusive? So Luxclusive we are a tech luxury startup. We are operating globally via our offices, which are strategically located in Manila, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Tallinn, and Porto. We are backed by a Silicon Valley venture capital fund, and we are a B2B platform that basically enables the sale and acquisition of secondhand luxury goods. We act as a pivot for different businesses globally to basically capture market within the region and in the global landscape. So before we proceed, I'd like to discuss with you the business model of a business-to-business marketplace. So first and foremost, we are not focused on the UI UX that is most common in the B2C marketplace. Much of our efforts in the technology is more of integration and optimization with the different partners that we have. This is basically via API integration with different vendors in, let's say, Japan, or with our partners in different marketplaces such as the Real in the US, Farfetch in the UK, and I would say Vestiaire Collective in France. So how does it work? So as a business-to-business marketplace, we are basically transacting with businesses. So we have our customers as businesses. We have our suppliers as businesses. We are not dealing directly with consumers, which is presented here in the screen. So basically, consumers directly transact with our suppliers and our partners, and customers or shoppers directly transact with B2C customers or platforms such as the one presented here in the screen. Just to put some context on that one, here in the Philippines, that would be maybe Lazada or Shopee, which are basically client-facing marketplace platform. So as mentioned, we act as a pivot to basically allow our partners to move their products globally. So items which may be located in Asia may now be seen in Europe or in the US via our technological innovation. Okay, so this is some example of marketplaces, business to business and business to consumer model. The one where we are in competition with is basically in the pre-owned luxury And basically, the other markets are what you're more familiar with. So Alibaba on the B2B marketplace, on the B2C, that would be Amazon in the US or Market Enterprise in Japan. So enough of the intro regarding our business and the B2B marketplace. So basically, this discussion is all about um, cross-border payments and the problem that we have back in 2018 is that how do we rotate cash globally in the most cost-effective manner? And being a B2B platform, our collections and working capital management is not like those in the B2C, wherein your usual solution is basically your card acquiring solution such as Stripe or Square, or maybe payment aggregators such as PayMongo in the Philippines. We are moving high volume, high value cash globally, which is something being addressed normally by traditional banks, but we think that they are not optimal and our partnership with them is not sustainable because of the cost effectiveness um, nature of the transaction. So in this type of nature, we're actually dealing with different types of risks, such as foreign currency risk, liquidity risks, and basically there's a lot of control costs also involved in the process, such as the forex spread. We're dealing with multiple currencies globally, the usual incoming and outgoing fund cost, and then the cost of capital on the cash float. So this is how we normally do it before. So we have clients in the US, in the European Union, in the Gulf region, or in AUNZ region. And the problem is that we basically receive cash via our traditional banks in Hong Kong or in the Philippines or in Estonia. And the problem is basically our customers are paying us in the different currency that that we operate, and at the same time, um, it costs us a lot because traditional banks are basically charging, you know, inbound and outbound fee. Plus, there's a lot of clearing time involved. And the problem doesn't just stop there because after we receive the cash, we're now faced again with the same problem, which is we are now bound to somehow pay our vendors in different jurisdiction globally in the different currencies that they may be operating with or on the different currencies we've agreed with. And therefore there's a lot of risk regarding forex spread. There's a lot of risk or cost involved in the incoming and outgoing fee. And in addition to that, we were also exposed to compliance requirement risks in the different jurisdiction we operate. So, for example, one of our entities or subsidiaries is located in Estonia. There was an issue back in 2018 regarding certain money laundering issue in the Baltic region, and they basically kicked out foreign entities from their traditional banks there. And now we're left with no bank to basically receive collection from our customers in the EU, or in certain example, in tax haven jurisdictions such as Hong Kong, it has become more and more difficult for us to obtain traditional banking solution. And basically there's a growing risks related to disclosure of certain banking transaction of certain individuals, such as the FATCA requirement in the US or the GATCA requirement in the OECD countries, or individuals or nationals which belong to OECD member countries. And during that time, we thought to ourselves that, hey, traditional banking, or using traditional banks to basically receive or collect cash and pay our vendors is something that is not sustainable for our business. And during this time, we looked at the fintech solution, particularly digital banking and payment platform solution. And that's where we basically decided to shift our cash management from the traditional setup to basically a digital banking, digital platform solution. Um, so this is the solution we found, um, and these are your normal digital banks globally. So you have TransferWise in the UK. Well, in the Philippines, you have Union Bank. I think CIMB is also a leader in digital banking in the Philippines. Stripe in the UK, N26 in Germany. And for us, we basically focus on these two main solutions, which is basically Payoneer and Revolut, although we're basically not promoting this one, but we are suggesting that for e-commerce, which are dealing with business to business, it would be best for you to look at the digital bank solution in the different jurisdiction where you operate. I think for Philippines, the one that is much present here would be Payoneer um, with the freelancers and the outsourcing businesses. So what does this solution made to our process? So basically, the solution allowed us to somehow have digital banks in different jurisdictions where we don't even have registration. So to give you an example, it may be an outsourcing business in the Philippines or a freelancer in the Philippines, regardless if he has registration or even if that person has registration here in the Philippines, they may have digital banks which have a local address in the jurisdiction where their client is. And and the name is still under them as the beneficiary. And the advantage of this is it allows better customer experience because now your customer will not remit on an international cross-border setup. Collections will now be done on a local transfer level. Now, this also means that you may perform local transfer within those jurisdictions, even if you don't have registration within those jurisdictions. And this basically reduce the costs as you're now using the local payment structure within those jurisdictions. So in the Philippines, that would be BankNet. In the US, that would be ACH. In the UK, that would be BICS. Or in the EU, that would be the gyro setup. And at the same time, this also allows us to basically perform international or cross-border payments at a much lower cost. Now, I will be discussing that in the subsequent slides with regard to the revenue model of this digital banking and payment platform solutions. And it's up to you guys to basically decide which of these digital banks are you going to partner with so that you can optimize your working capital management as well as your costs structure. So yeah, so these are the four main performance indicators that I have um, on banking in particular, as well as working capital management. So it would be forex spread. That's basically your, when you convert one currency to another, there is that spread that is generate a revenue that is generated by the bank. So this is most likely illustrated in, when you go to the banks, there's a buy and sell rate. The difference between the buy and sell rate is basically the revenue of the banks. Clearing time is definitely, your customers send you cash, you wait for certain days, and because you wait for, I don't know, 3-5 business days, you now need to obtain certain loans to somehow um, sustain your working capital requirement. Transaction cost is basically your inbound and outbound fee. So once your customer remits cash, they have, or their banks charge them an outgoing fee. Once you receive it, your bank basically charge you with an incoming fee and basically client cost. So client cost is more of your client's outgoing fee. but you care about that because the payment platform that you are providing to them adds customer experience in the process, and you want to lower that cost, or to be convenient, to make that solution more convenient to to your customers, as much as possible. So before we discuss this, I would like to say that digital banks, globally or in the Philippines, usually operates in two types of revenue model. The first one would be revenue based on float. So that means that they usually don't charge you outgoing or incoming cost, but the receipt of the cash, or the clearing of the cash to your vendors and would usually take some time, so that they can generate revenue on the time that it's clearing. So that means the cash is still on their coffers, they can still generate certain interest and revenue on the cash flow. The other one would be on a commission model setup, wherein for every transaction, incoming and outgoing, your digital bank or payment platform usually charges you a certain fixed cost, or a certain percentage of the total transaction. It may be 0.5 to 1%, normally. So Forex spread. So when we were doing the traditional banking setup before, when we receive cash from our customers, so let's say, for example, USD, but we're operating in PHP in the Philippines, we need to convert that USD to PHP. And the spread of your traditional banks is usually within the 3 to 5% range. And that's a lot. Usually um, you don't see that in the books, because as far as accounting is concerned, you just book the PHP equivalent. But behind that, you're actually losing a lot of money. Imagine you have 1 million receivable, and then you have, or 1 million USD, and then you have a spread of 3 to 5%. And that's basically a lot once you convert that to PHP. And when we shifted to digital banks, we were able to reduce that to almost 0%. And how did that happen? So um, your traditional banks normally gives you a buy rate, which has a spread already of around 3 to 5%. Digital banks, however, and I would say in majority of them, operates on a mid-rate capacity. That means the the rate between the buy and the sale rate is what they're usually giving you. And therefore, in doing that, you are able to reduce your Forex spread to substantially 0%. Um, I would say the real cost would be somewhere between 0 to 0.5% Forex spread. And that's a lot of savings if you try to look at your total collections and your total remittance in a year. The second one is clearing time, which is, for before, our customers were remitting to us cash, we're waiting for 3 to 5 business days. And a lot of things may happen in that 3 to 5 business days. And that includes, I don't have enough cash, I need to obtain additional capital from the banks, and the banks will basically charge me with additional interest and other charges. And that will have significant impact on your working capital. And in this digital banking solution, we were able to actually reduce our clearing time to 0 to 2 business days. A good example of this would be, I would say, Payoneer. So for example, there's a lot of freelancers in the Philippines and outsourcing businesses. They receive a USD from a client. They integrate their digital bank to their local bank. Let's say, for example, Union Bank or Security Bank in the Philippines, or BPI. Um, Once they remit that USD to PHP, it usually just takes an hour or two to basically clear that um, within their local bank. And that's a lot, because that means you don't need to somehow go to the banks now and obtain short-term loan. Now you have a shorter clearing time, and therefore better working capital management. But again, different digital banks and payment platform operates in different revenue model. So For example, for Payoneer, they're more focused on commission model transaction costs. That's why in in our transaction costs, we were only able to reduce it to 0 to 1% from 1 to 2% before, because we're optimizing in certain transaction Payoneer. For other digital banks and payment platforms such as TransferWise and Revolut, they're more focused on clearing time, and that's why we still have a clearing time here. But for transaction costs, we have reduced them to substantially or virtually zero cost. Um, in addition to that, we were also able to improve our customer experience because now customers can perform local bank transaction in their payment to us as compared to international remittance before. And that means it's basically international remittance cost versus local remittance cost. And that's a significant reduction in the transfer cost for clients. That's somewhere around 50 to 80% reduction in their cost. So overall, um, we were able to save on forex spread. We have faster availability on our cash. We have savings on the incoming and outgoing costs, and we were able to improve our customer experience by reducing the costs of banking for our customers. And on top of that, we also have improved transparency, availability, and accessibility on our digital banks. So basically, we're not restricted to the 9 to 5 p.m. Schedule of the banks. We can easily transact, perform certain transactions, and view all our balances anytime and anywhere we are. And that has provided us a lot of flexibility as a startup, as an e-commerce organization. So to wrap it up, digital banking and payment platform as a solution for the business to business e-commerce has been has been a great opportunity for us. It's a disruptor on the banking industry. It has improved the customer experience that we're offering to our different clients globally. We have faster clearing time. That means better working capital management, better free cash flow, and of course, better bottom line. And again, technology is a powerful tool to modernize compliance. So I was mentioning earlier that, we were kicked out from Estonia before because of a lot of compliance requirement on anti-money laundering and certain requirements on foreign organizations. Certain jurisdictions considered as tax haven, their compliance requirement has also been increasing, and digital banking and payment platform has become a solution for us to address those compliance requirements. And I would actually end this talk by basically quoting something from Charles Darwin, which is, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is basically the one that is most adaptable to change." And for us as a B2B organization, we were able to adopt and optimize the available solutions globally for our organization and for our clients as a whole. Yeah, so at this stage, basically, I'll be answering some of your questions via chat. And then again, these are my contact information. If you have certain concerns or clarification after the talk, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great afternoon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joselle. If you have further questions, you can post it in the chat box here or contact Joselle directly. Also, kindly do take time to visit the virtual exhibition area today where you can see our sponsors, products, and services. Thank you, everyone, and see you in our next session.